To say Edward Neeman plays the piano is like saying Lauren Jackson plays basketball. Both statements are true, but they don't really describe the magic. Neeman is an American-Australian educated in Canberra, where his family still lives, and then at the Julliard School in New York. He's been back to play with the Canberra Symphony Orchestra and to talk to Adam Shirley.
I guess I just like making music. I like the high notes and I like the low notes, and it's a very user-friendly instrument for a kid to play. I mean, playing the violin, a lot of little kids play the violin, but it takes a few years before they actually sound like they can play the violin. With the piano, you know, you just play it and it's a real joy. My grandfather had a little piano at his house in San Diego when I was growing up, and whenever I visited him, I always wanted to, play the keys. So when I was 4 years old for Christmas, he got me a keyboard, an electric keyboard, just a simple thing just to try out, and I really loved it. And so a few months later, my parents decided, this might be the real thing, and they actually bought me a piano, this ancient upright piano, and that was my first instrument. My father would sing Schubert songs to me, as lullabies when I was a little kid, because that's the songs he remembered his mother singing. My mother would practice with me every day, and that was a big help. When you're 4 years old, you don't have a huge amount of concentration, and it really helps to have somebody sitting there with you and making sure that you go through the basics every day. So that was kind of important for my development. And I also had a teacher who I really liked. That's also a very important thing. When I was 14, I moved here to Australia with my family, and I started studying with Larry Sitsky. And he really broadened my horizons in terms of the music that I was aware of. He got me really interested in playing more contemporary music, which is something I really enjoy doing. He also has a lot of esoteric interests in like early Soviet music and the music of Ferruccio Busoni, things that just never really enter the mainstream classical repertoire, but he's dedicated to bringing these things to light. Also, Geoffrey Lancaster really played an important role in bringing the classics to life for me, showing me new ways of approaching Mozart and Haydn and Bach and composers like that. Playing with an orchestra is a little bit of a compromise because you've got this massive body of musicians and somehow everything has to fit together. But at the same time, it's a really exhilarating experience because you do have that power of the orchestra behind you. I just played with the Canberra Symphony Orchestra last week in the Southern Highlands competition, and that was really a fun experience. And it was great, seeing all those familiar faces in the orchestra. People I went to school with, people I've already played chamber music with. And it was a great feeling of camaraderie and so on. It's not something you often get with an orchestra. It tends to be a bunch of anonymous professional musicians. I think the Australian scene is a little bit isolated, and that can be a handicap, but the best musicians here, I think, make it really into an advantage for them. And if you think that I was in New York. The population in New York is about the same as the population in all of Australia. So you're really interconnected with a lot of different people. And the best musicians, all the best musicians, pass through New York at some point. So you're part of this massive scene. Now, I feel like in a certain way I belong to the American music scene now, and I'm trying to take advantage of that and bring the music of Australian composers, of the people that I know here. All these really fascinating composers whose music I really admire and whose music I wish had a broader public exposure. I want to take that music and bring it to the American public.
And Edward Neeman is playing with the CSO again next week when he performs Grieg's Piano Concerto at Llewellyn Hall next Thursday evening.